Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another one. Hope all is well. Still covering this Carmelo Anthony case because it's getting interesting by the day now. So we already know that he has been convicted of murder, but there's something going on with his appeal that is kind of raising my eyebrows a little bit, and we're going to get into that. I mean, it's his parents. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but they may have made a huge mistake. Um, that's not really helping him out here. And it's unfortunate on what's happening with this kid right now. You know, he made a huge mistake, first of all, by even being in this situation in the first place. And number two, the appeals is not going to go well. The appeal's not going to go well. Um, First of all, in Texas, you have like a 2% chance of even winning the appeal. And in order to win, into order to get to have a fighting chance, you need a really good lawyer. You need to spend a lot of money in the appeals. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, but it'll help you out anyway. His parents, you guys, his y'all ain't gonna believe this. They raised over $600,000, and they just asked for a court-appointed attorney for the appeal. You hear what I said? They just requested for a court-appointed attorney for the appeal. He is indigent. They don't have any money. So my question is, did the whole 600,000 go to the other lawyer? Probably not. So what happened with the other money? This is bad, man. What they did here is this is terrible. Guys, like I said, guys, you're not going to believe this. So they asked for a court-appointed attorney for the appeal. Now, let me just say this. Me personally, I would have had an attorney already in the works, just in the case of my son get convicted. I would have been planning ahead. But they asked for a court-appointed attorney, but they can still go get they can change attorneys throughout the process. I mean, they could change it. But as of right now, they asked for a court-appointed attorney, which means that they didn't plan ahead. I would have planned ahead just in case if he got convicted here. Number one, they didn't ask for a change of venue in the beginning. They didn't ask for that. It's a lot of things that his original lawyer just didn't do. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? I'm still healing, so I'm kind of just working from home today because I twisted my ankle, so I'm on meds now to get the swelling down. But I figured I'll just go live. That's why I went live early because I feel okay right now. But guys, for those that's coming in, let me just say this to be fair. His parents, yes, they asked for a court appointed attorney. Hold on, let me turn this up. They asked for a court appointed attorney, right? Meaning that they did not plan ahead, just in case we get convicted, he get found guilty. But I would have planned ahead though, just in case, so I can have my attorney on deck already, and I would have already had a retainer already, just to because in Texas it's so hard to win your appeal in Texas. It's so hard to get relief in the appeals that you really have to like really plan ahead here. But now they're claiming they don't have no money. But let me just say this for a second. It's okay to get a court appointed attorney, especially in the feds, because they really know the program and stuff like that. They could really get you some relief. I know somebody that really got some relief with a court appointed attorney in the federal system. But we're talking about the state here. It's one thing. okay, just to get the process started, let me get a court-appointed attorney until, let me just get any attorney until I get my regular attorney. But no, that's not the case. If they had money, they wouldn't have got a court-appointed attorney. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't have no more money. They raised over $600,000. They don't have any more money. Something's wrong here. They did not spend the whole $600,000 on one attorney that they just had. And there are some details coming out now. See, guys, we were in that trial. We were in that trial. We there's some details that the vloggers are not telling us. And I wish I had known this. I wish I had went to the trial now, guys. Did you know a lot of people that testified and people that spoke up for the victim, they're black? I'm not trying to bring race in this, but you know how they trying to bring race into it. He was a football player. So, predominantly, I'm not trying to make it racial, but football is like predominantly like people of color. So he predominantly hung around people of color. And some of the people that approached him that day were people of color. So y'all ain't know that. Y'all ain't know that. This wasn't about race at that particular moment. It was just two hotheads. It was just teens acting crazy. That's what it was. But there were people of color that was around that situation that day. That was the twins' friends. Okay. So it wasn't like a group of white people attacked him. I knew that wasn't the case. I knew it wasn't. I knew that wasn't the case. It was, you know what it was? It was a bunch of teens that don't have no conflict resolution and they wanted to be hotheads. That's what happened here. You said they said there's a video of Metcalf witness 10. Listen, they saying it's a lot of videos. I'm not listening to them no more because they're not giving us the full details on what happened in court. I'm not listening to them no more. I just wish I had went to court because something told me, I was supposed to go to court, but the World Cup is coming. I got to make my money here. I got some things set up here for the World Cup, and I just couldn't make it. And then I was thinking, well, let me just catch a flight out there because I knew that the trial, because I made a last minute decision. I said the trial's not going to last that long, so I can just stay out there for a week and a half. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to get out there when it first started. I was going to get out there 2 to 3 days later and just stay for the whole trial because I knew it was only going to be 2 weeks, not even. Because the judge was moving rather quickly. So there were some details that came out in court that none of the vloggers are telling us. They didn't tell us that he had a lot of black friends. They're not telling us this. They're not telling us this. They're just saying, oh, the family is just straight up racist. That's what they're telling us. Like, it was like a bunch of, like, they making it seem like it's a mob of white kids that attacked him. It was not. It was a mixed group. It was just that. You know what it was? You know what else they said Karmelo said? He sat down in the tent and said that the people in the tent, he said that y'all garbage. Y'all team garbage. So he was mouthing off to them, but they're not telling us this. Because Karmelo played football too, if y'all didn't know. He didn't just run track. He played football for the rival school. So they're rivals. This was a rivalry. They're rivals. And it's just a bunch of hothead situation happened, and he should not have used a knife in a damn fist fight. Okay. Now people are saying that there's another video, but we have to see the video. If there's another video out there that will help him out, we would like to see it. Guys, he sat down in their tent and said they're garbage. Oh man, y'all garbage. So they said, man, get the hell out of our tent, yo. You sitting up here talking shit. Get out of our tent. That's how it happened. But see, the vloggers are not telling us this, and I want to know why now. They're not telling us this. You saying I'm always taking the other side. I'm telling you the whole thing, though. I'm telling you details that I just found out. I'm not taking no side. Hold on a second, man. You don't know me like that. And you better get up out of here. I'd be sitting up there with Karmelo if I saw you in person. Let me get you up out of here. You lucky I got a bum ankle. I invite you to where I'm at. Get up out of here. Yeah, I'm just gonna just block people. I'm not gonna respond. I'm just gonna block them because I'm tired of people now. I'm tired because there's some new see the thing is the vloggers that were there, they're not telling us everything that happened in court. They're not telling us this. Gotti, I'm hearing that he didn't get jumped. He said they garbage, they were mouthing off and stuff like that, and they told him to leave. You make me leave. You come over here and see what happens if you want to. So the twin took him up on it, put hands on him, and he got poked. They saying that's what happened. And some of the people that are quote unquote, since we refer to each other as a crayon color, some of the black kids testified and said that's what happened. Okay. He hung out with predominantly black people. That's what he hung out with. I knew that because he's a football player. They usually hang out with their own kind. They hang out with football players. That's who he hung around. And he thought he had some flavor. Like the twins, they with the shits. They think they got flavor. You ever seen somebody like that? They got flavor. They hang out. You know what I'm saying? They got a little flavor. That's how they act. That's how they acted. They act like they had flavor, if you know what I mean. So they talk shit too. You see what I'm saying? They both were talking trash. OPP. They both were. But see, they have a little flavor to them. You know what I'm saying? I knew he had a little flavor just the way he said it in the interview. I could tell he didn't want to go further, but he said, yeah, Karmelo was talking reckless. Just the fact that he said it like that, I knew he thought he had some flavor to him. I can't explain it to y'all, but just the way he used that vernacular. He said he's sitting up here talking reckless. He pretty much said their team is garbage. You see what I'm saying? But they're aware of him because he played football. Karmelo played football too. I just say crayon color because I make fun of it. Because we still do that over here. Um, you know, but I get it. We have to say black and white just for the sake of this conversation. So the twins got a little flavor to them. They play football and all that. They jocks. They hanging out with the brothers. You know what I'm saying? They got a little flavor. So they not above. They not below. They not above not talking shit. They down with it. So basically, they got into a shit talking contest, and they said, you know what? Just raise up on out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? We don't want you around here. Get up out of here. He said, y'all garbage. You with your garbage team or something like that. So he said, well, get up out of here. Okay. So then, yeah, come on over here. I got something for your MF and ass. Come over here if you touch me if you want to. So the twin went over there and touched him, and he got poked up. That's what happened. So until they show me another video, that's what the jury believes, man. And then there's people that look like Karmelo that's against what he did because they were there. Okay. So we gonna have to wait. Then if there's a video somewhere, because what happened was I think this is what happened. When arguments start taking place, somebody is recording it. That's how kids do. So somebody got the actual recording. So until we see that, he gonna be sitting up there where he's at, man. I know how this thing goes, so I'm only gonna go on based on my own knowledge now, on my history of watching trials. I know how this is gonna work. But nevertheless, we got to wait for the video. To be fair, if there's a video out there that can clear him, I'll wait to see that. Yeah, broke the dad's arm. So the kids, they were with the shits. They weren't choir boys. They were not. And they thought they were hard asses. You see what I'm saying? Football jocks. So this is what he was up against. That kid was not backing down from him. So he said, yeah, come over here if you want to. I got something for you. So twin went over there. He went over there. He went backing down. He said, "Okay, oh, I'm about to whoop yo. You know what? You know what I'm saying? You sitting up here talking reckless. Yeah, but what Anthony wasn't throwing hands. Prince, he wasn't throwing hands. That's just the fact of the matter. He wasn't. He was not going to throw hands. Everybody don't throw hands out here. But I'm also going to tell you, somebody had told me what he's in for in prison. They said more than likely he's being segregated for right now. So we'll get into that later, but we're going to listen to what the Law and Crime Network said. But Prince, did you know his parents asked for a court-appointed attorney for the appeals? And it's only a 2% chance of him ever winning the appeals in the state of Texas. So what does that mean? He needs a high-powered attorney, correct? Yes, he needs a high-powered attorney. They asking for a court-appointed attorney, meaning that they don't have no more money. You said Anthony has epilepsy. He couldn't fight. You said he has epilepsy and he couldn't fight. He played football, Patrice. Patrice, he was a football player getting hit upside the head. Y'all can't do that. He was a football player. He wasn't just a track player. He played football as well. And you know how rough football is. Football is very rough on the head because I played it. I was a tight end. He played football. He played football. And he was really good at it. Yeah, you didn't know that, Patrice. There's some things that they not telling us. I didn't know he played football either. Yeah, he played football and he was really good at it. And he got hit upside the head. You know, been playing football, you're going to get hit upside the head every now and then. But he did have to take medicine. Okay. So, yes, he has to take his medicine. So he does have an issue with that. He has to take his medicine regularly. And his parents said that they have to bring the medicine. They had to take that medicine up to the prison. So that's the situation right there. So yes, they have to work that out, get his medicine sent up there. You would think that if he's in jail, they will already have medicine. Let me tell you something. Did you know around here, police, they go to different senior citizen buildings asking if they got old medication? You might say to yourself, why do they ask for that? So they can give it to the inmates. They give them expired medication. So to save money, they go to different buildings where elderly people live and actually they have old medication they're not using. The system messed up, guys. That's why I don't ever want to get caught up in it. What's up, Medeo? So right now, look, regardless of the fact, right? They were teenagers and they were all being hotheads. Okay. That's what happened. Them twins was with the shits. They were. And they were jocks. They were football players. They hung out with brothers, all types of shit. Because they were making it seem like this was like a white mob attack, and it was not. It was a mixed mob. Okay. There was brothers around. And there was brothers that's backing up the twins right now. There's brothers that's backing up the twins right now. I'm just letting y'all know this. They ain't nobody tell you that, did they? They were best friends with the brothers. Ain't nobody saying all this. And I knew that's the case because they're football players. But the brothers, they act like they were down. You know how people are, think they got a little flavor to them. So there was no de-escalation of this confrontation. They were not going to de-escalate it. Yeah, I listened to the father's interview, but he's sitting up there crashing out. And he is not going to sit up here and tell me he don't eat no watermelon. I'm sorry. He does. But see, that's his way of crashing out because he want people to feel his pain. So he do need to go sit down somewhere. So we'll get to him in a second. But we want to talk about, could this situation be de-escalated? No. It was out of hand at that point. They both were talking too much trash to each other. Yeah, he made questionable statements, but that's just how it is. I would have made question. I've been calling her all types of B's too. You know what I'm saying? My son ain't here no more. Everybody be MFs and B's around here. I'm not gonna be sitting up there talking about we all need to get along and ask for forgiveness and I put my faith in the Lord. Bullshit. Everybody be all types of B's and F's and MFs around here. Okay? If that was my son, okay? Look at these B's and MFs crying and all this. You need to go check your son. You damn right I would have been going off. But let's get back to the business here. But it's not right. Let me just say this. What the dad did, y'all know it's not right. Y'all don't need me to tell y'all that. It's not right what he did. He's sitting up there getting all the way ignorant now. Okay? And trust me, he's not done yet. The father's not done yet because he crashing out. And he probably don't have, hey, what's up, Heaven? He probably don't have nobody to calm him down. Okay? So he's all ready to crash out. So it's just so much going on right now. But check this out, Heaven. We were just talking about this. They asked for a court-appointed attorney, which means that they can't, either they looking for a lawyer or they don't have no money for a lawyer. Okay, and they raised over $600,000. So my question is, what they do with the money? They did not spend $600,000 on that one lawyer that they had. Okay. And in Heaven, nobody told me that the twins had a mixed group of friends. I'm thinking it's a white mob that attacked this kid. No, it was a mixed group. I knew it was because he's a football player. They had to have mixed friends. They had to. That's just how it is in Texas. In Texas, football is just like that. But I wish this situation could have been de-escalated, but you know how hot-headed ass teens are, especially boys. Okay? All that testosterone and I'm bigger than you and MF or you ain't gonna do nothing to us. But they said he sat down in the tent and said they garbage. Your team ain't shit. Or something he said. But anyway, it shouldn't have ended up with somebody dying. Maybe somebody getting beat up at best. You said bought a car, a big house, etc., instead of looking for attorneys. I heard they were renting the house because they said they got doxxed. Okay, so let me just say this, guys. You're gonna go rent a big house. Why you gotta rent a big house? Why the house gotta be big? Why can't you rent a regular house? Because you know why I say that? You need as much money as you can to fight this case. It went to relocating, okay. And okay. Did they buy a house or were they renting a house? Yeah, I know, due to increased stress. Okay. Um, well, that's what you got firearms for. I'm still living in my house. Okay. I guess we both be on trial because you're not gonna come to my house and just threaten me without me sitting up here doing something. So I would be staying at my house. That's just me. But you said they never bought a house and they had a truck 2 years prior to the event. So what happened to the money? Okay, supposedly friends let them rent the house. What happened to the rest of the money though? They raised over 600,000. They did not pay 600,000 for this lawyer that they just recently had. I'm sorry. I could see if they hired Jose Baez or something like that. That I could see. They don't have no more money. See, that's the vloggers giving misinformation. The money, they got the money. They was able to withdraw the money as it was coming in. The 600,000 was the total that they collected. The account wasn't frozen. Being that he got convicted, then they stopped the account because it's over with now. The funding is over with, but they can start another account right now if they want to. Hey, Chantel, they asking for a court appointed attorney. They don't have no money. They don't have the money that we think they have. If you asking for a court appointed attorney, nah, you ain't got no money. You're supposed to have one on deck already. You said they don't have no money. So no, it's not GoFundMe. It's the Go whatever account that was. It wasn't GoFundMe. The money was spent, guys. That's all. They human beings. They spent the money. I'm not asking what they spent. I don't care what they spent the money on, but they ain't got no more money. They ain't spending on that lawyer. Yeah, they can use GoFundMe. They can set up a GoFundMe. They filed the appeal already. They have 30 days to do it, but they already filed it. Antoine, none of these teams had situational awareness. None of them. You said they paid off bills, etc. Okay, that's fine. They paid off bills. They could do that. That's not really what I'm worried about. The problem is they can't. They need a high powered attorney, man. There's a 2% chance of you getting some action in the appeals in Texas. Yeah, but I do want to see the video, Patrice. I know this video everybody talking about. Yeah, so many things are not true, Heaven, because the vloggers are lying to us. They're lying to us. They didn't tell us everything that happened in court. You said, why did he bring a weapon to a track meet? Now, some people are trying to tell us now that it was for to sharpen his cleats. I ain't never heard no shit like that. And I ran track. I ain't never had to sharpen no cleats. Never. If my cleats were dull, guess what? I'm buying new cleats. I'm buying new cleats. But that's what they're saying. I don't know. You said you donate. Hold on a second. You said you donate your YouTube check to them, Max, since you reporting on them. So you think I get a lot of money doing this? DJ Plug, hold on. Let me point you in the right direction. There's some people making some real money talking about him right now. You know the Law and Crime Network? Why don't you go over there and tell them that? Why don't you go tell the Law and Crime Network that? Because they're making at least 100,000 a month. Okay? But see, you guys like to come and mess with your own because that's easy for y'all to do. Okay? That's easy for y'all to do. Since you're getting so triggered, go to the Law and Crime Network and tell them the same thing. Tell them why don't they donate some of their money to help his cause out because they're making over 100 grand a month. Okay? I'm making sneaker money over here. Or what do you call it? Oil change money. Or a car. I'm making car note money. I'll say that. A little bit of car note money every now and then. But there's levels to this, DJ Plug. There's levels to it. Okay? And it's for you being triggered like that, you must know the family or something, or you must be affiliated. But let me explain something to you real quick. They collected over $600,000. That money really is supposed to go to lawyers. Point blank, period. Okay. I saw the house that they were living in. They could have lived in a smaller house. Stop playing with me. They could have lived in a smaller house. Okay. But I'm not knocking it. That it's their taste, whatever they want to do. Okay. In the gated community. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm regular. I come from a regular life. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have all these luxuries, so I can't relate. I know how to make money stretch. The fact of the matter is, if I raise $600,000, I'm trying to get Jose Baez. That's just me. I would hit Jose Baez and say, "Listen, can you take this case? Can you at least negotiate this to manslaughter? We're not trying to take this to trial because my knuckleheaded ass son made a mistake. He made a bad decision by taking a knife to a fist fight. So can you at least negotiate, help us negotiate? Or do you know a lawyer in Texas that you recommend that we can negotiate manslaughter? So we can get this reduced down so he can get the least amount of time possible." I would have spent that whole $600,000 on a respected attorney that's not going to get buffaloed around in court. That's where the money should have went. And they should have stayed in the house they were at. If you're so damn scared about getting doxxed, you go buy you a firearm. And if somebody come in your house, that's it. No, Heaven, I'm talking to somebody that said you should donate your YouTube check to them. It ain't my fault they spent the whole money. So I just wanted to say that. Yeah, that video not clear, Heaven. And we want to see the clear video that everybody telling us about. Yeah, he didn't go there to purposely kill nobody. That's why it's not murder one, I don't think, Patrice. But the thing is, the jury, the one believed that. It's not the judge, it's the jury. They believed it was murder one. So they heard some type of evidence in court for them to believe it was murder one. Because if he did put his hand in his bag, Patrice, and said, "Come over here if you want to and touch me if you want to," that's murder one. It is. It's premeditated. Because he said, "Come over here and touch me if you want to. I got something for you." That's murder one. But if he had the right attorney, he could have got maybe made a deal and worked that down to manslaughter. You said the full 13 was released to the public. That proves murder beyond reasonable doubt. You said the full 13-minute video. I know Heaven telling me it's hard to see. You said setting a GoFundMe as a hustle. You said, "Are you black or white?" I can't tell. Um, what color am I? I'm hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna answer your question. I'm I want to say medium beige. Medium I'm tan. Put it that way. I'm tan. That's what color I am. I'm tan. I'm medium tan. Especially when that sun hit me. I'm medium tan. That's right. And what does that mean? What does that like? Why do you care? Oh, you said the way I'm reporting? Okay. You said the video footage coming, a lot of words will be eaten. Okay, but why didn't the lawyer get the video to show to the jury? You guys are crazy. You mean to tell me that lawyer didn't show the jury that video since the video is out there? How come that could have exonerated him? Yeah, they got all that money, Chantel. They got the whole 600. Even if it was recently drawn out, they got it. They got it. But now they don't have it now. They got to get a court appointed attorney. You said that money is gone in months. Yeah, it's gone, Chantel. They got to get a court appointed attorney for right now. It wasn't GoFundMe. It was I forget the name of the site, but it wasn't GoFundMe. They can start a GoFundMe if they want to. There's somebody in the comments, Heaven, that was getting at me, asking me what color I am. So I said tan. Hey, what's going on? Cashmere Black. You said, do you think the father coming out with his rhetoric will justify all of the people who had no remorse for Austin and his family? You said, do you think the father coming out with his you talking about the Austin family? I mean the Austin father? Thank you for the donation. He said Austin's father, right? Do you think the father coming out with his rhetoric will justify for all the people who had no remorse for Austin's family? Nah, I don't really care about all that. He's sitting up there. He's sitting up there having a nervous breakdown. He's having a breakdown because the stuff he's saying don't make no sense. If anybody is educated about history, what he's saying ain't making no sense. So he's having a breakdown. It don't make no sense. I'm not putting no value on what that father is saying. He don't make no sense. He's having a breakdown. Shit, if my son died like that in a fist fight, I'm gonna be calling people all kind of MFs and Bs too. I probably would have said worse than what he said. Yeah, they did have access to it, Chantel, but they believe in what these bloggers are saying. They got the money. They got the money. I don't know what they did with the money, Chantel. That ain't my business. It's really not my business what they did with the money. They can do whatever with the money. But what I'm saying is to go into the appeals process, you need somebody the equivalent of Jose Baez or the attorneys. You remember those attorneys, Chantel, that Robert Dersh had? You remember the Robert Dersh case? Those old men, they're retired now, but he needs somebody like that. He needs somebody that's not going to get buffaloed around in court and is not afraid of the system. There's some lawyers in Texas that they're above everybody. They're not scared of nothing. They get respect because they earned it. That costs money to hire them. That's what he needs. You said the Crayola again? No, the guy asked me what color I was, JT. I'm trying to catch up with the comments now. So hold on a second, guy. Let me get y'all comments. I want to think I'm ignoring people. Hold on. He said it's possible that his attorney felt he was guilty. Yeah, sometimes the attorneys know you're guilty, but you know, you said that could be reason for ineffective counsel. AW, I'm with your thought on that for sure. I'm with your thought on it. Could be an ineffective counsel. But the percentage AW for winning the appeal in Texas is 2%. So what that means, right? He need to spend a lot of money on a respected attorney that practice in the state of Texas. You can't do this with a court appointed attorney. You said black and Caucasian people. Here y'all love this race talk. You know what it is? Like I ain't gonna lie to you, we ain't had a good race case in a long time. So people get excited about it. But you said black and Caucasian people saw the full 13-minute is as clear as day. But my question is, you gotta talk to the jury now. The jury saw did they see that video? Did the jury see the video? Because the jury was the one that found him guilty. The jury. You see what I'm saying? So my question is, they say Miss Kimmy, I'm not trying to call you out or anything, Miss Kimmy. I'm just trying to catch up with the comments. Let me ask you this. They said it's another video out there, Miss Kimmy. There's another video that will exonerate him. I want to see that video. There's two videos out there. What's up, Steve? You said the jury didn't see the clear video, right? They said it's two videos out there, Mike. So we got to see the clear video, and that might get him some action in the appeals. But according to the Law and Crime Network, this kid got action in the appeals. You hear me? And they according to the Law and Crime Network, he has action in the appeals. But guess what? He need money. He listen. If the family is listening, please listen to me. Somebody in here knows this family. If you know the family, please tell them to call Jose Baez. Please tell them. But when you call Jose Baez, you need to come with what did Cardi B say? She want to raise about 5 million. You need about 5 million. And get Jose Baez and his crew. And then they're going to have a stand-in attorney that's from the state of Texas to work this case. Y'all need to get Jose Baez. Especially if you think there's a second video out there that will exonerate him. If there's a second video out there that's clear that will exonerate him, that proved that he got beat up and choked out, please get Jose Baez, was going to cost you a few million. Because they also got to pay the stand-in attorney. Because if you're not barred in the state of Texas, you can practice in Texas, but you got to have a lead attorney that's from Texas. So that all costs money. You know, they got to do research, you know, their time, their travels, the hotel, the lodging, the food. It's going to cost you at least a few $1 million to beat this case. But guess what? The public can help raise that money. If they already raised 600,000, they can raise a couple $1 million. All they had to do is get on video, say, guys, we need to get Jose. Okay. We need to get Drew Friendly. Let me tell y'all something about Little Dirt. Little Dirt case is coming up in August. He got Drew Friendly. Drew Friedling is one of the best lawyers on the planet. Little Dirt got him. So Little Dirt got action in court. I don't care what nobody say. He might come home. There's a 50-50 chance he might come home. I told you deals are made on the golf course. They might can, you know, whatever. But still, I mean, you don't know what the jury is going to do. So, but they need some money for this appeal. And that's where the public come in. If you believe that this kid is innocent, but then when they set up their GoFundMe, you got to donate to it. Do I believe he had a fair trial? Well, that's in question, Patrice, because y'all said there's another video out there. My question is, why didn't the lawyer show that video in court? If the video can exonerate him. Let me go down. Let me get caught up on the message. Give me a second, y'all. I know y'all like, man, you bugging. You hold on, let me see. They didn't get the money. They did get the money. Cozy. They did get it. They get the money. They got it. You said there is not a clear video. There is one video, that's it. And what's your name? Callie 4743. He said, ain't no more video. That's it. Yeah, Give, Send, Go is the site. Thank you, Darren. Give, Send, Go. It's not GoFundMe, but they can start a GoFundMe now. I think they could start another Give, Send, Go. According to Give, Send, Go, they can start another one. But they had to end that one because that one is over because he already got convicted. So it's over with. But they can start another one if they want to, according to that CEO. No, they had a paid attorney. That was my fault, Christy. I had to correct myself on that. They had a paid attorney. You said the father needs to be quiet. You talking about the victim's father? Because he the one doing the most right now. You said, yeah, Austin's father and his bigotry. We all bigots. Because I would have said something. I'd have been, if that was my fun. Let me tell you something. Let me just say this for the sake. Let me just tell you what I would have did. I would have said something on the same level. If my son went to a fist fight, even though my son is wrong, because I would admit it, my son shouldn't have did that. But then this kid don't stabbed up my son, and I ain't got my son no more. I'd have been calling people all kind of crackerjacks, all kind of crackerjacks, man. Not that I mean it, but I would have been on that level. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not taking up for what he's doing because he's sitting up there doing the most right now, Cashmere. Thank you for the donation, by the way, Cashmere. I don't know if I told you that. I'm not taking up for what he was doing. He's sitting over there crashing out and doing the most right now, calling the woman all types of bees, everything. Sometimes people true colors come out when they get mad or drunk. Just put it that way. You said he's saying exactly how he's been feeling. And sometimes when you get drunk and mad, things come out sexy. Because I know damn well I would have been talking trash too. Because you know what he's thinking, right? Damn, all he got was 35 years. He wanted that kid to get life. But see, the judge didn't do it. It was the jury that decided. Because I know I lost my son and he gonna have the light of day again. Man, you don't know what came out of my mouth. I probably would have crashed out by now. You said Ben Crump can view the full 13-minute video. What Ben Crump going to he you said Ben Crump. Ben Crump can view the full 13-minute video. He's a civil attorney. Thank you, Prince. You said surprised that negligent homicide was on the table. He didn't get that though. Thank you, Antoine, for the donation. You said, well, Carmelo family really didn't show up for him in court. He wasn't lying about that. Oh yeah, and the only person that spoke up in his behalf was his mother. That's it. Yeah, that's bogus. You said I'd never seen so much misinformation being spread about the case, and people believe everything being said. These people are slow. You know what it was, Chantel? Is usually like that when they don't show it on TV for us to see it. And the vloggers that were there, they're not going to tell us the truth anyway. They have an agenda. They already, because especially somebody was like, well, he's getting set up. Well, we want to know, how was he getting set up? Tell us. How did he get set up? You know, and also there's a concerted effort to try to get some kind of race riot going on. That's what they want. And then also there was some misinformation being spread saying that the Aryan Brotherhood put a hit out on him in jail. That was a lie. There was a guy that's in the jail where he's at. He said that's a lie. Ain't nobody put a hit out on him. So yeah, because they want people at war with each other. You said Brian Steele, but Brian Steele costs money, Mike. You said those attorneys would cost me, right? Brian Steele and them cost millions. Because he's not coming alone. He coming with his attorneys and some Texas attorneys. That cost millions. You looking at more than that, Heaven, for Brian Steele and Jose Baez. You're looking at more than 2 million, at least 5. Like Cardi B said, want to raise them 5. She's right. At least 5. Good morning. Good morning, Retretta. They did raise over 600,000. You said how would they be able to get a public defender? They ain't got no money. They got to get a court-appointed attorney. Because if you don't have no money, by law, they have to get you an attorney. So the only thing I'm saying, Mike, if there's a clear video out there that will prove this in his favor, that should have been, the jury should have saw all that, not us. Because it's over with now. The jury convicted him. You say Anthony gonna have the best of the best. That doesn't, yeah, he can have, yeah, he needs at least the best of the best to fight this. But it's no guarantee though. He gotta have somebody respected in Texas. And then he in business. But I heard that he has action on any appeals for sure. Do they would take his case and Andrew, I mean Antoine, Drew Friendly, and Jose Baez? I'm not sure. They don't take that many cases a year. Drew Friendly is always on Lil Durk. He's working on Lil Durk's case right now. I'm not sure what Jose Baez is working on. They don't take that many cases a year. Yeah, we about to get into that, Heaven. Let me do that now.
It took the jury less than 3 hours to find Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, and then another roughly 3 hours to determine that his punishment would be 35 years in prison. Now, on one hand, that sent a strong message that the 12 jurors who saw this trial, they didn't really buy the argument that Karmelo's defense was making. And now there are some new questions being raised, and especially being raised by Karmelo's parents, about how the defense approach this case that we're going to talk about here in a moment, because this story is only gaining steam and getting more attention since the verdict earlier this week. And I'm going to update you on everything that is developing right now. And Jesse Weber, host of Sidebar here on Law and Crime, he's going to be with me here in just a moment to talk through how this trial went and what an appeal potentially could look like.
Yeah, no, y'all wrong. Come on. I swear to God, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this.
Now, this is video here of the group that was outside the courthouse in McKinney, Texas, the day of the verdict earlier this week, where we did see some tension. I also want to show you this. This is the new mugshot that we received of Karmelo Anthony since he is now in state prison in Texas. You can see in this mugshot, he has his head shaved. Now, we have learned that Karmelo will begin serving his prison sentence here, the Wallace Pack unit in Navasota, Texas. It's roughly 3.5 hours away from where he stabbed Austin Metcalf to death at that track meet in Frisco outside Dallas in April of 2025. What we know about this prison, it's all males. It is roughly 1,500 inmates, and it's a minimum security prison. Now, Karmelo Anthony has wasted no time in filing a notice of appeal, and we found a line in the document pretty surprising. Now, this is the notice of appeal. It's filed in Collin County District Court. That's where the trial took place. And in the notice, it says, quote, "I am penniless, destitute, an indigent person, too poor to employ counsel to represent me on the appeal, and too poor to pay for or give security of the statement of facts and a true copy thereof herein." So Anthony wants a court-appointed attorney for his appeal. And at 19, I mean, you kind of understand. I mean, he's just graduated high school. He's legally an adult. He's now a prison inmate, so it's not a surprise that he doesn't have the money to afford an attorney. But it also raises some questions about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that was raised for his criminal defense. And criminal defense is not cheap. Now, initially, There was a fundraiser last year around the time of his arrest that was put up on GoFundMe, but that was quickly taken down because GoFundMe has a policy where you can't raise money for people who are accused of violent crimes. Give, Send, Go does not have that policy. But after Anthony's guilty verdict in that murder trial, the site brought his fundraiser down. And the reason they said was, quote, the fundraiser was to promote pretrial needs, and those funds were dispersed over the past year for lawful purposes, including legal defense and family relocation. With that stated purpose now complete, the fundraiser has been closed. So the notice of appeal tells us that Anthony would like a court-appointed attorney for his appeal, but it doesn't tell us yet why he is appealing. What would the grounds be for an appeal? We do know, though, through some interviews that his parents gave to two outlets that we know about after the verdict.
All right, let me stop right there for a minute. So we know now that he is indigent, right? He doesn't have a job or anything like that. He can't afford a high-powered attorney. But it goes to show, like, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of this now. They don't have no more money. Or they could have money, but they still have to pay bills, right? They still have to live their life. So they could still have some of the 600,000, but they have other kids. They had to relocate, they had to pay other bills. So at this point, they're gonna have to rely on donations from somebody. Got to have big pockets to come along to get them an attorney like Drew Friendly or Jose Baez or people like that. Or I know somebody mentioned Young Thug's lawyer. To get lawyers like that, the cream of the crop lawyers, but more importantly, they need a lawyer that specializes in the appeals that got respect in Texas. Listen, I had told you guys before, there was a case where a guy beheaded somebody and he beat the case. That's how elite his lawyers were. He still beat the case and he beheaded somebody. Still beat the case. You said pro bono may come along. Yeah, that could be it. You said we're gonna get him out. It's nothing. Hey man, that's just talk, man. We over here saying what he really going through. He ain't just getting out like that. Now, if somebody say that there's a video out there that shows that this was self-defense, then maybe. But people just talking right there. There's a lot of misinformation going on because people want to keep this race thing going on. That's basically what it is. That's basically what it is. All right. Let me put you in the back. I'm going to put you in the back. We'll put you in timeout. But just for that infraction, I'm going to put you in the back. You can still listen. I appreciate you listening, but you're getting a little out of hand with the buck dancing and bojangling you're saying. You're getting a little bit out of hand. Okay, so go ahead and stay in the back. But you can still listen, though, but you're in the bushes. So, yeah, just you said, so what? He's still breathing, right? Yeah, I'm about to start blocking y'all. Y'all ain't going to come up in here. I'm going to have to start getting on. I'm going to have to start acting like Kim Jong-un in the comments. You know what that means? I'm going to have to start being a dictator. Now, I don't want to have to be a dictator. Okay, I know this is an emotional situation, but once you start saying I'm buck dancing and bojangling and step and fetch it, then you got to go in the back. All right, let's see what we talking about here. They the ones ain't got no more money to help them, and they raised over 600,000. Don't what you mad at me for? But they need more than that to get like a Drew Friendly. That's what Lil Durk lawyer. Lil Durk got Drew Friendly, and I'm gonna tell y'all something. Lil Durk got a chance to beat that case. Drew Friendly is one of the best in the business. You said the fatigue is real. What do you mean by fatigue? I keep hearing that a lot. Black fatigue. What does that mean? The fatigue is real. Like, what does that mean? We're not this monolithic or homogenous group of people where we all think the same. Okay? We all don't think the same. You said they paid that useless lawyer. Nah, they ain't pay him all that money. There's no way. Not for that showing. Charleston is the devil. So I don't care what Charleston White is saying. You can look at his eyes and tell that he's touched. You can look at his eyes. Yeah, you can go ahead and time them out, Chantel, if you want. If they keep coming, yeah, just do that, Chantel. Just have it your way. I'm not even going to question it. You said black. Let me see. Yeah, okay, somebody explain it. Black fatigue is hatred of ninjas. That's why they say black fatigue. I see that a lot lately. Black fatigue. And that's just online. Ain't nobody going to say black fatigue in my face out here. See, when you outside, things are a lot different. Ain't nobody talking black fatigue outside unless they're keeping it to themselves. We ain't caring about that. What we caring is he needs a lawyer. They said go directly to the licensed attorney. They can also for living expenses too. Look, the family got that money. Okay.
They were not happy with the defense of their son. I will tell you, we have reached out to Karmelo Anthony's parents to come on the show as well. But I do want to run through some of the quotes that they gave in these interviews. Now, in the interviews, they have stood by their son. Not a surprise. They say they do not believe that he intended to kill Austin Metcalf. Quote, "My son is no murderer. My son didn't intend to hurt anyone. My son was defending himself." That's Karmelo's mom, Kayla Hayes, telling CBS Texas. Now, Karmelo's parents also say they believe the trial was flawed and unfair. Quote, "Everyone actually lied on the stand," says Karmelo's mom. Now, there was another interview they gave with the Breakfast Club, Power 105.1 FM. It was posted to YouTube. And there, Karmelo's parents talked about how they would have potentially approached the legal side of the case differently. They said that they do not believe their son got a fair trial. Quote, "We got comfortable with the instructions that we were told. We were told not to say nothing. We were told not to do this. So we followed all the instructions that we were told. We were told, don't do this. Don't talk to this person. It was all this, and look what happened to my son," said Karmelo's dad, Drew Anthony, in that interview. Now, Karmelo's dad also said that his son was told that they should not make this case about race, and that was by their attorney. But he said that he believed that race played a role in the outcome. He said the family was advised to get a white attorney. It's unclear who gave that advice. Now, the family also raised some concerns in that interview about there not being a black person on the jury. We had a reporter in the courtroom throughout this trial, Cody Thomas of Court TV, and he reported that the jury was mostly white, wasn't all white, but mostly white. And there were 3 Asian women and 1 person who appeared to be of Middle Eastern descent and 1 other woman of color. The rest of the jury, they were all men and they were all white. So in the trial, the defense also called 6 witnesses. That is compared to the roughly, I think it was 21 witnesses that the state called as they presented their case. And in the Breakfast Club interview, the parents said they don't know why their attorney didn't call more witnesses. The Anthony family also says that they raised concerns with their defense attorney during the trial. They say after the trial, they were given a, quote, corporate answer by their defense about how things went. They didn't elaborate more on what corporate answer means. But they also said that they are looking for a new attorney for the appeal of their son's guilty verdict in this murder trial. In the interview, the family was also asked, I think, a pretty big question, and one that many people, no matter what you feel about the verdict, are wondering. Why did Karmelo Anthony not testify? Karmelo's dad said, quote, "Based on everything, he didn't need nothing, because everything they said when it's self-defense, they have to prove it. They never proved it." Now, it is unclear if it was ever in the plans for Karmelo to testify in this trial and whether it was the attorney who gave.
Let me say this really quickly. Yeah, it's on the state to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt that, you know, he did this and with the intent of murder one, right? But the jury agreed with the state. Okay. It's the jury that agreed with the state. So really, this is a unique case where the defense also had the burden of proof to prove that, look, I didn't do this. So I don't know if I would have agreed for him to go on the stand, because that probably would have really sealed his fate with the jury. But if I'm a betting man, that jury didn't show him no remorse or pity at all. They did not. Just based up on the makeup of the jury, all the people that were on the jury that was white were all men. And yeah, they ain't showing no pity, man, at all. So that's his lawyer for picking who he picked. They could have been a little bit more diverse on that jury. Remember, the defense has a right to pick the jury as well, and the state. And they have a right to strike people as well. So that's what they came up with. And then I don't know who advised the family, oh, you just need a white attorney. I don't care about if the attorney is white or not, but how good is the attorney? How respectable is the attorney in that particular state? That's all I care about. I don't care what color he is or he or she is. Okay. Do you got respect? You know what I'm saying? The jury went with the state. They believed that this was beyond reasonable doubt that this was murder one. And remember, the jury also sentenced him as well. So let's continue.
Gave the advice that he shouldn't. But we have seen in many high-profile self-defense cases, and Jesse's going to join me here in a moment. We're going to talk about a couple of them where the defendant does take the stand, and it can be the biggest moment of a trial and be the difference between innocence and guilt. And now the judge who oversaw this case is also speaking out. Judge John Roach of the 296th District Court says that he stands by the verdict that was found in his courtroom. He spoke to WFAA TV in Dallas, and he said in this interview something about Karmelo Anthony that we weren't expecting, considering the guilty verdict in this murder trial. Roach said that he stands by his decision as well not to allow cameras in the courtroom, saying, I know I made people mad, but I'm not here to make them happy either. Now, some had speculated, mostly online, that Roach had some kind of prior relationship with the Metcalf family, and he went on the record denying that, saying he had never met members of the Metcalf family prior to this trial, said he wouldn't have known Jeff Metcalf, Austin's dad, had he walked up to him on the street before all of this happened. And then he was asked whether he believes the jury reached the right verdict. And he said, quote, yes, they did, because they were picked based upon the law. They listened to the facts. It happened in this courtroom, and they got a verdict, Roach said. And he also said this about Karmelo Anthony, quote, he seems like a nice young man who committed a crime, and he understands today more than any day before the consequences of.
You know what? The judge in this case, I know the judge said that he didn't want to air this trial just for protection of certain people. I think he should have let us see it now. And it wouldn't have been no question. People wouldn't have been sitting up here lying and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that claim that they were there. They're lying, giving misinformation. This wouldn't have happened if we were able to see it. Like, if we were able to see this trial on Court TV or Law and Crime Network, it wouldn't be no issue right now. Because we don't know what the jury heard unless we go read the transcript. Trust me, if that transcript is available, I'm going to read it here. I'm going to read the whole transcript. I don't care if it takes me a week. I'm going to read the whole transcript. Because the people are leaving out details. You know, people keep saying there's a video out here, this and that. And okay, well, if there's a video, then like I said, the new attorney has to get that video. And also, if they believe that their son wasn't getting adequate representation, they're paying for the attorney. They're the boss. That attorney works for them. So they have a right to say certain things, because that's what Diddy was doing. I sat in a Diddy trial. I saw what Diddy was doing. He took a very proactive approach to his case. That's why he got the results he got. He was found guilty on a lesser charge, but he ain't got to do life. He gonna see the light of day very soon. He took a very proactive approach in his case. And guess what? The attorneys, they had to listen to him. So if I feel like the attorney ain't doing certain things, I have a right to say, hey, listen, you need to call more witnesses here. Why or why are you not calling these witnesses? You know, they have a right to ask him that. They should have looked at his expertise and they should have looked at his background and put 2 and 2 together. They didn't do that. You know, I understand that the judge don't want to be criticized and stuff like that, but it would have been nice for us to see it. Because usually we don't talk about the judge in these cases. Normally we don't. Sometimes we'll say, hey, the judge did a really good job, stuff in that, how he's controlling the courtroom. But we're not really there to look at the judge. We're there to look at the evidence, listen to the evidence. They told the parent just to stay quiet. I just wish he could have like approved cameras in the courtroom. So do you think he should have no consequences for what he did? Just asking. If my son, well, you haven't been listening to me. Trust is love. You just came in here for the first time. So you don't know how I feel about it, even though I've explained it many times. I already said you don't bring a knife to a fist fight. I've already said this. All right. And it's not about me. It's not about me. The jury has already found him guilty. He's guilty now of murder. That's the facts. What everybody else is saying, let me just talk to you for a minute. What everybody else is saying is no, never mind. Here's the real fact. The jury found him guilty on murder 1. That's the fact. The jury has spoken. You have not heard me once say that the jury made the wrong decision here. I normally don't say that. The only time I said that was in the Zimmerman case. The jury made the wrong decision. Not in this case. But the problem is, though, I couldn't hear what the jury was hearing. I couldn't hear it. So I wish I had went to the trial now. But the jury has already spoken, man. If you sit there and poke somebody, and if it's not justified, more than likely you're gonna get some time. That's regular life. This is not make-believe life. This is how it is outside. Just like that kid that assaulted that police officer in New York the other day after the Knicks game, he's sitting in Rikers right now. And I know he's wishing he had never did it, but he's sitting there following the crowd, acting a fool because the Knicks won, which is no big deal. It's just basketball. And now he's sitting up in Rikers with real predators. Okay. They don't care about what he did. They sitting there, no telling what his life is like in Rikers right now. All over a Knicks game. So we got consequences for our actions for sure. It's a good chance if Anthony had testified, he would have got buried. Man, listen. If Alec Murdoch did a bad job, what you think Karmelo gonna do? And Alec Murdoch was an attorney, and he took the stand and got buried. So what you think is gonna happen to Karmelo? He's not a seasoned attorney like Alec Murdoch. No, I don't agree with him taking a stand unless maybe he probably had to, maybe to say, listen, they were jumping on me and stuff. But look, maybe that didn't happen. Maybe he sat there and blacked out. You guess what's in the police report? He asked the officer, do you think this is self-defense? Why don't he be quiet? You got to be quiet. You got to keep your mouth shut. But he didn't know to do that. I think what happened, he blacked out, man. Sometimes y'all act like people don't black out sometimes. Sometimes people black out and do what they do. I didn't say he set out to do it to the guy. Could have been at best manslaughter, at best. But he blacked out. They were both hotheads going back and forth with each other. And he blacked out, man. I've already told you what I would have did with the money. People, they got mad with me when I said it. I said, no, man, I'm going to be real here. Because, parents, they do all they can to teach their kids the right way. But when your kid go out in the world, you hope they're supposed to represent you right. They got into a trash talking contest, bucking back and forth with each other, two hotheads, you know what I mean? And it went foul. You know what I'm saying? He probably called him a bitch ass ninja. Get out of here, you B ass ninja. Oh no, who you talking to? You come over here. Come over here and touch me if you want to. You be ass. Come over here if you want to. And he went over there because he's a hothead too. He went over there. And then, it happened so fast. And I bet you he calmed down like, I can't believe I did this. He blacked out. It happens. But guess what? You got to do some time. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We all, not a lot of people. I'm gonna tell you all this. This case didn't spark a lot of rage. It's only select, it's only the people at the courthouse and whoever's talking about it. If you notice, everybody's not talking about this case. You notice that? All the big time vloggers are not talking about this case. They're not. This case was cut and dried him. Okay, he blacked out. He got to do the time, man. That's not on us. This case is not getting attention from the big wigs that it's supposed to get. It's not. You say he has epilepsy, so he was scared. He played football though with the epilepsy. He's a football player. He didn't just run track. He played football and he was really good at it. So he took hits upside the head playing football. I'm talking about, when I say the big wigs, I'm talking about, let me see. The real big attorneys are not talking about this. Nobody's talking about it. That's what I'm talking about. This is a cut and dry case, man. When you poke somebody, you gotta go to jail. That's just what it is. So let me ask you this. So let me ask all of you guys this right now. I'm asking all of you. Say if your son, I'm sitting in the park, right? And your son or daughter or whatever walk past. No, it's your son. Walk past and me and him get into a beef. And he pushed me or whatever, or punched me or whatever the case is, and I pull out a knife and I get to work on him to the point where he's no longer around. Are you okay with that? Because he did touch me. I did say, hey, look, he touched me, right? And what are you going to say? Okay, yeah, my son did touch you, so he deserved it. And you ain't got no more son. You think that's all right? No. No, you don't think it's going to be all right. You're going to want me to get the death penalty. Everybody in here can agree with that. No, everybody in here can agree. Let me say it one more time. You just said you're in the wrong. Let me say it again. Your son is walking past and me and him get into a beef. And I punch and he punched me and pushed me on the ground. I get up and take my poker out, my knife, and get to work on him. Are y'all gonna say, oh, Max, man, I know my son, you were okay because my son did punch you. So it's okay to me not to have a son no more. It's okay. Ain't nobody here gonna agree with that. No, not one. If you are, you're a bot, and let me know so I can block you. Yeah, I'm guilty. So Karmelo's guilty, right, Antoine? He's guilty. The twin didn't have a weapon. He ain't have no weapon. But if somebody here talking about I'm wrong, let me know so I can block you. Let me know. If you said that kid was a bully, which okay, let me give you another scenario. I'm a bully. Okay? I'm a bully. And I'm sitting up there, me and your son going back and forth, right? We having an argument. We going back and forth. And I slap your son, right? And your son poked me and I said, you think your son not going to jail? You wrong. He's going to jail. We got to have we got, hold on. I got something for your bozo. All right, bye. You're up out of here. You guys got to take accountability, man. Like I said, if me and your son going back and forth and your son slapped me and pushed me on the ground, I get up and poke him and your son not here no more, you're gonna be tight about that. You're gonna want me to be guilty, correct? Of course. Yeah, but there's no video showing that they surrounded him. You guys are going off what these lying ass vloggers are saying. Okay? Ain't nobody really sweating this case like that. Not the big vloggers. They're not sweating this case. Man, you can't bring no knife to a fist fight. It don't matter who started it. It don't matter. Like, I'm telling you right now, if I'm sitting in the park and somebody come up to me and they standing over me and we talking trash to each other and I get smacked up and I take my banger out and I'm getting the poking, I'm going to jail. Especially in New Jersey, I'm going to jail. That's the real life. I'm going to jail. Y'all would never hear from me again bumping my gums in here. I'm going to jail. Okay? I'm going to jail. I just told you the truth. You guys just sitting up here trying to play Jedi mind tricks. If you sit up here and push me and slap me up and I sit here and poke you up, your family gonna want me to go to jail. Period. Even if they jump at me. Even if they jump at me in New Jersey, I'm going to jail. That's in New Jersey. Now, Virginia, no. Virginia, I could probably beat that case. It just depends. You know how self-defense is out here in Jersey and New York. It's non-existent. In New Jersey, self-defense is non-existent, really. You better go read the law. You said who declared a fist fight? I'm just making up man, y'all are slow. You slow, yo. And I know a lot of people are slow because this video going around on Instagram where people can't read. So it might be some of y'all. You slow. I said I made up a hypothetical situation saying if it was a fist fight, if I come up to your son and your son grabbed me up and smacked me up and I poke him up, you guys gonna want me to go to jail. Period. That's what I said. I was given a hypothetical situation. Okay. I know some people will find that funny. I was given a hypothetical situation. I didn't say they got in a fist fight. But I said that the fact of the matter is they were talking trash to each other. That's what was happening. Now, you guys are saying that there's another video out there. Well, let's see it. So I can shut up. Then I'll shut up about it. If I see that video and somebody said they put him in a headlock and they were beating on him. So if that's the case, I will shut up. But I need to see the video. Damn, slower than frozen molasses. That's slow. That's damn near brain dead. But it's all, we got to have a little laughter in here. Let me go back to the law and crime real quick.
Committing a crime like he did. Again, Karmelo Anthony will be roughly 54 years old if he serves his entire 35-year sentence, and he will be eligible for parole in about half that, so 17 and a half years. Join us now to talk more about this is the host of Sidebar here on Law and Crime, Jesse Weber. You can also catch him on Jesse Weber Live on News Nation. Good to have you, Jesse. Thanks for doing this. I know we've been covering this case. You look at the family of Karmelo Anthony and incredibly emotional, understandably so, with everything that happened, and they're not happy with the defense and how things went. And you certainly see from some of the testimony, some of the things that I think they would have wished they had done differently. But is there enough there when you look at this for them potentially to file an appeal based on the fact that they just didn't like the counsel that they got?
It's a great question. First of all, Chris, thanks for having me. I've made it. I'm on the case. Look at this.
I know. Great.
My debut. Look, everybody has a right to an appeal, and every criminal defendant should file an appeal, unless, of course, they pled guilty, right? Now, I think they have some fair concerns. It's very difficult for us, even though we've covered the trial and there were no cameras there, but we read the testimony. We tried to get as much reporting about it as possible. It's sometimes hard for us to look out and say, criticize the prosecution, criticize the defense. Here's one of those cases where I think there's legitimate questions. Now, on one hand, I'm skeptical because I could say, even if he were to get a new trial, and we'll talk about the appellate arguments, even if he were to get a new trial, would he even be successful in getting a not guilty verdict? I can't sit here and tell you that because I think this was a really, really tough case for the defense. Number one, whenever you have a situation of self-defense and the defendant uses a deadly weapon and the victim does not have a weapon, that in and of itself presents a challenge.
That's all I'm simply saying, guys. This is a challenging case because the victim didn't have a weapon, guys. All he had was his fist. He ain't had no weapon. And boom, just out of a split second, he got poked in the heart. He ain't had no weapon. So it's kind of hard to defend that. Okay, you getting pushed up and this and that, and you just gonna poke somebody? You know what kind of mindset you gotta have to sit up there and poke somebody in the chest? That's hard, man. Like, you said that if the roles were reversed. No, we ain't going with we going with what we have here. Yeah, but the thing is, okay, if he feared for his life, but then he's on punk status. So what's gonna happen when he get to jail when somebody tests him? Because he gonna get tested. Okay, he gonna have to fight with them hands. He gonna have to fight. He's gonna have to fight where he at now. So you telling me he was on punk status then? If you're gonna sit up there and y'all going back and forth with some lip service, and somebody grab you up, you grab them back. If you get beat up, you get beat up. Okay, that's how I grew up. You gotta understand, I grew up a different way. You know what I'm saying? We had fights. I didn't have too many fights in my life, though. I haven't. I'm telling you, everybody was cool with me. I was one of them people where I was just a cool dude, yo. Everybody was cool with me. But every now and then I had a bully that tried to bully me, and I had to fight. Because they said he reached in his bag, said, come over here if you want to. You know what I'm saying? Like he Chud the builder. That's why Chud can't get out of jail. Okay? Yeah, come over here if you want to. I got some mace for you. Or I got some hot ones for you. That's illegal. You can't do that. Okay? You can't do that, man. That's why Chud can't get out. Ask me if Chud is out of jail yet. No. Chud is facing attempted murder. And he's sitting up there looking stuck on stupid. I know that parents said he had epilepsy. He taking medication for the epilepsy, but also he played football. Did anybody here ever play football in high school or college? This kid played football. He didn't just run track, he was a football player as well. And he was pretty good at it. So every now and then when you play football, you get hit upside the head. You said, were you fighting people that was over 100 limbs? Bro, Carmelo Anthony was like 140 pounds. I wasn't the last time I was 140 pounds was like in 5th grade, yo. I was a tight end. I was like the size of Aaron Hernandez, yo. I've been that size all my life. The only time I've been 140 pounds, I had to been in like 4th or 5th grade, yo. 4th or 5th grade. I was 10 pounds when my mother had me. 10 pounds. So I don't know what 140 pounds is like. I don't remember being 140 pounds. But that don't mean nothing. I had friends that were 130 pounds and was nice with them hands. Everybody got somebody in the hood that's small, that's nice with the hands. Okay, I wasn't naturally nice with my hands. They put me in boxing, so I learned how to box. And the reason why they put me in there to build confidence, and they also had an after-school program, the facility. So that's where we went. We did our homework first, and we boxed, and then parents picked you up later. And they also at the end at the tail end, they had a school bus that they take you home. But yeah, he had epilepsy, but he also played football. You said Flojo suffered from. Yeah, well, Flojo, damn, you brought up Flojo, man. Shout out to Flo. Rest in peace to Flojo. I don't know if you remember. Since you just brought up Flojo for a second, you remember her last race? She was glowing. Go look at her last race, man. Her legendary race when she broke the world record. That woman was glowing. She was glowing. Yeah, man. You just said Flojo, man. Fuck, she did die in her sleep. You said you only 5'7" and you got hands though, right? The size don't matter. You could be 5'7", 140 pounds and still fight, but that don't mean you're gonna win. But you ain't no punk. I mean, y'all got to help me out here. Did the twin have a bat on him, or golf club, or some brass knuckles, or give me something to work with? Don't tell me he said, yeah, come over here if you want to. I got something for your ass. Come over here if you want. Touch me if you want to now. And he went over and touched me and got poked. Come on, man. That's hard, man. That's hard. That's a hard defense. But guess what? I will give him the benefit of the doubt and say, man, that's manslaughter. You know what I mean? But manslaughter in Texas, I think that's a maximum of 20 years or whatever. And the crazy part about Texas is what they're saying is even if he is eligible for parole in 17 years, he ain't going to get out. They're going to find a way to keep him in there. So he's looking at least 20, 25 years right now. Oh, you know how they say real quick, self-defense don't apply to us? Well, you know the rapper, The Baby? He shot somebody on his property, so go talk to him. Go talk to The Baby. He shot somebody, and he ain't in jail. So self-defense do apply to us. You said even the Baby Shaq and pastor admitted he didn't see the video of Karmelo getting jumped. There's no mystery video. People need to wake up. Thank you for the donation, 09. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If there's a mystery video out there, let's see it. Who is the baby Shaq passer? Who is that? You said Karmelo was 5'11"? That's not what they said. I don't think he was 5'11". He's shorter than that. The twins were like 6'1", 6'1", 6'2".
But I think when you talk about what the issues are for appeal, I mean, there's a number that come to my mind. Number one, was it in the right county? Should there have been a change of venue? Number two, of course, it's the big issue about jury selection, right? You're talking about a jury that had no black jurors. Now, that in and of itself doesn't mean that an appellate court is going to overturn the convictions here. You have to show a couple things. One thing you'd have to show is that the prosecution improperly, illegally dismissed jurors or tried to excuse jurors on the basis of race. We call that a Batson challenge. If the court believes that could be grounds to overturn the conviction. But you have to show that. It's not so simple. It does become a question. Also, were the jurors themselves biased in some way? Would they be open to speaking to defense counsel about what the deliberations were like or what their motivations were? Do they do research into these jurors and look at maybe did they not disclose something during the jury selection process that they should have? So I think the jury selection issue is also going to be something for an appeal. And then there are moments during the trial that the defense will say it was unfair. One of the things that I'm sure they're going to bring up is during the jury instructions, they lost. They wanted to instruct they didn't want an instruction to the jury. If you believe that Karmelo Anthony was the aggressor, you cannot find that he acted in self-defense. They believe that shouldn't have been what the jury was instructed, and they were. So there's going to be opportunities there. But during the course of the trial, there were a number of things the defense did or did not do that raised a question. I mean, Chris, do you have an understanding about why he brought a knife that day? I know they were really keen about saying the knife was a certain length and maybe, he had a right to have it, but still not clear why he brought it. I think some of their witnesses, at least one in particular, the defense called, wasn't the most helpful to their case. So, and you also have a family this is a tragedy on a number of different levels, but you have a family who now lost the son. One, obviously the Metcalfs lost their son, but also their brother, but also you have Karmelo Anthony who's going to spend potentially 35 years in prison over what happened here. And they're angry. And it's not uncommon to point the blame at the defense attorney.
No, and I think, there are a couple questions. Like on day one, like Cody Thomas from Court TV was our guy in the courtroom. And like I remember on day one, I was like, one of the big questions for this trial is why did he have a knife? And I was shocked that by the end of 4 days of testimony, and I think it was a total of 27 witnesses, like the only real answer we got was, well, it's just not illegal in Texas. If you have a blade under 5.5 inches, it's against school policy, but it's not illegal to have it. And I just feel like the jury might have needed a little bit more. Maybe one thing I bring up, they talked about in opening statements, this was a kid who loved to go camping. Like maybe that's his bag when he goes camping. He has a knife. Like that was never brought up. And I was kind of surprised about that. And then the other part too, because there were 6 witnesses for the defense that were called. And Drew Anthony, who is Karmelo's dad, said in an interview with the Breakfast Club that he didn't really know why more witnesses weren't called. And for people who aren't attorneys, I'm not an attorney. You sit back and you're like, it's not, in his words, it's like, it's not my department. But I was surprised that maybe there could have been like, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback it, but like a use of force expert that could have come in and challenged some of the testimony potentially from like a medical examiner. Because we do see in trials, like one I thought of, very different case, but it's like Karen Reed, one of the more successful defenses we've seen in recent years. Like expert testimony for the defense was huge there. And in this situation, you had some witnesses who may or may not have seen things. I just felt like there could have been something more there,
I hear you. You also have to have those witnesses. Like, were they going to have witnesses who were adamant Karmelo Anthony didn't do anything wrong here? He was not the aggressor. I watched it with my own eyes. He was being attacked. He had no choice. I mean, were they going to have those witnesses? Could they find a use of force expert to suggest that using that knife in that situation was justified? I mean, I look, the defense's closing argument arguably did their best to try to suggest, What's he supposed to do? Walk away when you have these bigger guys around him? His life was in danger. He had no choice. I think the thing that might have helped Carmelo Anthony, or one of the, I wasn't surprised he was convicted. I did want to know if it was going to be manslaughter or murder. But one of the things I thought is, okay, he had this knife, one direct shot into Metcalf's chest, heart, which was a savage stabbing. But at the same time, it wasn't like multiple stabbings. It wasn't like he kept going and people had to remove, him off of Metcalf. And then he just dropped it and admitted what he did. So there were elements there where you could argue potentially self-defense. But in terms of calling more witnesses, look, I don't know. But I do also wonder, from a strategic point of view, did they feel that whoever they thought about calling, maybe they weren't going to be very helpful to their narrative? And could they find the correct expert that would help their defense? I mean, again, as we talked about, at least one of their witnesses didn't go so well. I mean, this was a witness who apparently, I was listening to Cody Thomas talk about it, who had more of a relationship, a defense witness had more of a relationship with the prosecutor than the defense attorney. And that ultimately said, if I remember correctly, that Carmelo Anthony was the aggressor. So you can't just get the witnesses you want. You can't just make them out of thin air. You're handed what you're handed. And I do wonder, even if you bring in any defense attorney out there, you name whoever you think is the best defense attorney, could you have gotten a not guilty? Could you have gotten a guilty on manslaughter, which would have been, as we know, it's a lesser charge, less time in prison potentially. But that's a question. And if you want, I could also talk about whether or not he should have taken the stand.
Well, and that was going to be my next question, because that.
Real quick, even one of the defense witnesses said he was the aggressor. That's crazy. Could it be here that he just blacked out? That's it. He just blacked out and made a bad decision, and then he got paid for it. That's pretty much what it is. That's it. Even like I said, one of the defense witnesses said he was the aggressor. That's crazy. That didn't help his cause.
That was a question that was asked of the Anthony family in this Breakfast Club interview. Like, why didn't he take the stand? And Drew Anthony, Carmelo's dad, said, quote, based on everything, he didn't need nothing, because everything they said, when it's self-defense, they have to prove it. They never proved it. And it's unclear whether that was the advice of counsel that he shouldn't take the defense, or whoever made the decision that they would not put Carmelo Anthony on the stand. But in a lot of these self-defense cases that we see, Jesse, you do see the defendant take the stand because they can talk about being scared. They can talk about what they saw in that moment, and you just didn't get that in this particular trial.
Let's be clear. It's the defendant's right. It's only the defendant's choice, the defendant's right. They're not pressured into taking the stand. They're not compelled to take the stand. It's their choice. They have a conversation with their defense attorneys about the advantages and the risks, but it's Carmelo Anthony's decision. Now, couple ways to look at it, right? So the father's correct. I mean, they don't have to prove anything. It's the prosecution who has the burden of proof, and you try to poke holes in it. At the same time, a defense attorney's opening statement and the defense attorney's closing argument is not considered evidence in the case. You need actual evidence for the jury to determine what was self-defense. And under the law, self-defense has to be reasonable. It has to be proportional. It has to be immediately necessary. So I believe, you want to talk about what could have potentially changed the verdict, him taking the stand. Because like you said, you have to go in the shoes of the defendant and understand under those circumstances, what was he feeling? And look, I don't think I've ever heard Carmelo Anthony speak, but if you look at the reporting, he was apparently emotional and shaking when the verdict was read. If he went on the stand and he recounted how he was feeling in that moment, he would have had to convince the jury that he did this not out of anger, not because he was angry at Austin Metcalf, but because he was in fear for his life. Could he have done that? Maybe, but what's the risk? He's a young kid, and he is going to be faced up against an experienced prosecutor under intense cross-examination. So the theory could have been that if he went up there, he would have he would have collapsed under that questioning, and it would have gone really, really bad. I mean, you want to compare? Look at Kyle Rittenhouse. Different case, right? We also had video in that case where you could at least understand. I mean, you could disagree with the verdict, but you could look at the case and say, well, I saw the video of him being chased and ultimately attacked. I think that was a key component. But he got on the stand and explained what was going on and why was he in fear for his life. And you look at him and he was like kind of baby-faced when he did it. I think that has an effect. I think that has a factor. And if this is a retrial, Carmelo Anthony will be a bit older, but will he be in a position to recount this and want to recount this and believe this is his option to maybe get a not guilty verdict or manslaughter, not murder? It's a tough question. It's very hard to predict, but this is why in self-defense cases, more than any other case, even though defense attorneys say, they recommend to their clients, don't take the stand, you're opening up yourself to a ton of intense cross-examination risk. Self-defense cases may be the exception.
Yeah. And one thing I kept thinking about as the trial went on, because we heard a lot about tent culture and track culture and about, how did Carmelo Anthony wind up under this tent? And apparently there was someone there who was a mutual friend who had waved him over. And, the defense tried to argue that it's a social thing when you go to a track meet. There's so much downtime between events. And he saw somebody that he knew, that person brought him into the tent. And then apparently the Metcalf brothers didn't like it. And then that led to this altercation. And then you had the prosecution saying that it is uncommon for people to go under other teams' tents. And so the Metcalfs, they were kind of standing up for their team to get Carmelo out. And then that led to this altercation. I wonder just how much of why he was under the tent actually mattered. And when it comes to a self-defense case where the prosecution says you can meet a shove with a shove, but you can't meet a shove with a stab. And when do you enter the point of the interaction where any of this actually matters to Carmelo being, if you believe this, in the right to stab Austin Metcalf?
Generally speaking, the aggressor in a confrontation cannot claim self-defense. The aggressor in the situation will not be entitled to that. And these become very fact-specific, minute-by-minute interactions. I mean, and so the importance of that is, did he start it? Okay. No, maybe he didn't start it because he went under the tent, had every right to go into the tent. He was minding his own business. Okay. So then you create the narrative. Okay. Maybe it's the Metcalf brothers who are the aggressors in that situation. And maybe that's the case. However, it can flip. It can flip based on what, and even if they were aggressive with him and they put their hands on him. Okay. So now he has a right to defend himself, but it has to be proportional and reasonable. Perhaps he had a right to push back. Maybe he had a right to punch. Maybe he had a right to wrestle them. But taking a deadly weapon out in that instance, if he's not, the counter argument is, what do you expect? You want him to wait to get punched? You want him to wait to get attacked? He was surrounded, standing over him. But at the same time, there's also testimony that Metcalf said, "I'm not going to fight you." So it becomes very fact specific, and it's a lot based on the credibility of the witnesses about what you think happened. And sometimes the aggressor role can change. I mean, I'll give you a great example of this. There was a shooting in Florida. I covered it on my other show, a prime crime. It was a parking lot dispute. Really, really sad case. It's the Michael Draka case. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Chris, but it was a dispute in a Florida parking lot. Guy comes over, this guy, Michael Draka. He sees Marquise McLaughlin. Marquise McLaughlin and his girlfriend. They pull up into the parking lot. Marquise goes into the convenience store's girlfriend's in the car. And Michael Drake, a complete stranger, goes up to the girlfriend, is like, "You're parked in a handicap spot. You shouldn't have a right. You shouldn't be here." They're getting into a whole tussle. She allegedly says to him, "My boyfriend's going to beat you up." And it's caught on surveillance footage, and you see them arguing. And, who's the aggressor there? Well, you could say Draka. So at that point, you see Marquise McLaughlin exit the convenience store, walk over to Michael Draka, push him right onto the ground. So there you say, okay, Marquise McLaughlin, he started physical confrontation, pushes this guy to the ground. Michael Draka in the video takes out a gun, okay, points it at Marquise McLaughlin. This is how quickly the case changed. If he just took it out and fired, he may have been found not guilty. But because when he takes out the gun, you can see Marquise McLaughlin actually take a second, back up, and then Michael Draka fires. And the court believed, and the argument was, that the jury believed, and the argument was, is that split second, he wasn't a danger to you anymore. You waited a second, you just fired anyway, and that was not self-defense. So it becomes very, very specific about when you could use deadly force. And by the way, that's the way the law should be. We can't have a society where we're allowed to use deadly force because in more of a liberal kind of stance, it has to be necessary. It has to be immediate, and it can be.
All right, let me stop right there. So to use deadly force, I'm in agreement. In order to use deadly force, he did have a right to defend himself, but he used deadly force. In order to use deadly force, his life really had to be on the line. I mean, this kid had to have a baseball bat or a gun pointing at him, or he might have had a knife too. Or if this kid had a knife, then I could see it. Or if there was a group of people beating on him, like he's on the ground getting stomped out, his head getting stomped on, and he just get up and swing the knife, and he did it just enough to get away, then I could see that. But that's not what they testified. That's not what came out to the jury. In order to use deadly force, like, we can't live in a society, even though we know it happens every day, people get killed every day. But in order to use deadly force, it has to be a really valid reason. I used to be a gun owner. I don't have it now because I had to move back to Jersey. I had to sell it. But check this out. I'm still in compliance with the law. You know why? I could have easily brought my gun here. As long as I don't get stopped, they're not going to know I have it. But guess what? I had to be compliant with the law, because let's say if I did get stopped, they're like, well, yeah, it's registered in Virginia, but you can't carry it across state lines. Guess what? That's a minimum of 5 years, first offense. See, I know that. So I'm in compliant. I got rid of it. Now, in the heat of the moment, things happen because we're human, right? But I've had heat of the moment situations where people tested me, and I walked away, or I just stayed quiet. Like, more recently, there was like a guy, he was like talking to himself in the park, and I'm just sitting there, and he started yelling and saying some stuff, and I just walked away. I just walked away. But he was doing it to everybody, though, not just me. But I just decided to walk away. I didn't want to hear about what he was talking about anyway. So I walked away. I guess because, at my age, so it's not fair to say, it's not fair to keep saying what I would do, because I'm not the age of Carmelo Anthony. I know how teenagers are. In this situation, teenagers are getting hot-headed, and they were going back and forth with each other. I don't agree that the twin put his hands on Carmelo. He shouldn't have. He should have kept his hands to himself. But that does not equal to him getting a blade in his heart just for touching somebody. I'm sorry. This is not the channel for you. I'm not in agreement with that. There's consequences to everything. Okay? So, but he's at a place now where he gonna have to fight. And he gonna have to fight people bigger than him. They gonna test him. And it's gonna be somebody that look like him that's gonna test him. Because they gotta know that you're willing to fight, just in case they want to hang out with you. They have to know that you down for the get down. Because it's strength in numbers in jail. So they gotta know that you're a soldier. So they might test you. Or they might not. He might stay in solitary. I don't know. You said those boxing lessons gonna pay off? Oh, so he was taking boxing lessons? I don't know. I mean, I took them when I was younger, but it was more so to build confidence, and also I had other kids in the neighborhood was doing the same thing, so we were all doing it together. And also, they had an after-school program. But one thing I learned in boxing is how to get an ass whooping. Because let me tell you something. So I had a funny thing happen one time. So my boy Bruce, he was real good at throwing hooks. And he used to always tell me, yo, bro, you making a mistake. When you go to your left, you drop your guard. And he said, you're open for the hook. He said, I'm going to show you. He said, you need this. You need to correct that. And next thing you know, he dropped me. I didn't even see the punch. He dropped me. And when he dropped me, I started hearing I started hearing ringing in my ear. All I know was he hit me so hard, it felt like something exploded in my head. That's how hard he hit me. Because I didn't learn. You know, even the coach said you got to learn. You sitting up here, keep dropping your guard. What you think's gonna happen? And I had headgear on top of it. Imagine if I didn't have headgear on. I'd probably be talking like Meldrick Taylor right now. If I ain't had that headgear on, I'd be sitting up here stuttering and all types of stuff trying to talk about Karmelo's case. Stuttering. So you learn how to fight. So maybe that would have helped him. But at the same time, you still could take a L. So if it's hand-to-hand combat, right? I don't believe that a knife should be used in hand-to-hand combat. But every now and then, it happens every day where fights are not fair. And this stuff happens every day. It's just that Karmelo case has been blown up in the media. So that's what it is right there. But we'll see what happens in the appeal to see if he got some action. But the thing is, he's declared himself indigent. He ain't got no money. Now, of course, he don't have no money because he don't have no job. But his parents ain't got the money to get a lawyer. I guess all the money was spent, the $600,000. Okay, maybe all the $600,000 was spent already. Yeah, okay. So Melo said, as long as you don't put your hands on me, but he put his hands on him. Just because the kid put his hands on him don't mean he got to die. He's not supposed to die for putting his hands on somebody. Melo should have put his hands back on him. But he took the punk way out, unfortunately. He took the punk way out. He on punk status. But guess what? Where he at now, he gonna have to fight. He can get a blade in there too. Don't get me wrong, he can. But he got people in there. Listen, they gonna test him. For sure. He gonna get tested. It's gladiator school in there. You said students were afraid to speak up because they had to go back to the same school. So that's why they were lying. Let me ask you guys a question because none of us were there. Because y'all saying that Melo got surrounded by a group of people. Did he get surrounded by all white people? Yes or no? What do y'all think? Or was it a mixed crowd that was around them? What do y'all think? It was a mixed crowd because the twins, they had all type of friends because they played football. You know what I'm saying? They had all type of friends. It was a mixed group of crowd, black and white, that was around Melo saying, "What the hell are you doing?" Okay? The twins, they hung out with more so people of color. Did you know that? That's all they hung out with. And obviously that makes sense because they played football. So of course they're gonna have a mixed group of friends. And also the one of the twins, he was actually a really good linebacker, I heard. You know what I'm saying? So he knew a lot of people. He was very popular. He knew a lot of people. So yes, they're gonna have a mixed group of friends. And he had a mixed group of people saying that Melo was in the wrong. Hold up. Let me go back. I just got a comment. Hold on. Let me see. You said them black people were not FBA. They're a bunch of tethers. You talking about the ones that were there that witnessed the fight? Why they got to be tethers? Okay, so they're tethers because they took the twin side. They tethers. Okay, we okay. Okay. You if you think they lied, then okay, I feel you. Okay, you said because they all like. How do you know they all lied? Were you there? I'm being honest. I'm not trying to like single you out. We having a discussion here, Queen. But were you there? How do you know that the kids lied? You said, oh my God, not this FBA. I know. When I said that, I had to stop right there. Oh, you did your research from their testimony? So they lied? Wait a minute, the court document's not out fully so we can read it yet. The transcripts are not out yet. Hunter changed his story. I know that's what people are saying. Yeah, it's all hearsay, Just Sheila. But we still having this, conversation. People have a right to believe what they want to believe. I can't argue with y'all on that. You said I'm a pretendian. Don't call me no tether. I ain't no tether. My whole generation, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations, they were all born here. They were all born here, man. I am from the United States. If somebody asks me, well, what are you? I'm a native of the United States. I'm American. I'm not going to say I'm from Nigeria when I was sitting up here and born in New Jersey. When I'm going to say I'm Nigerian? When I'm going to say I'm South African? No. I am proud to be from the United States. That's right. I represent the Stars and Stripes, man. I am proud. Let me just say this for the World Cup though. Because I know somebody here, I can feel it. Well, you don't represent the United States in the World Cup. Yeah, I'm representing Brazil in the World Cup because that's my favorite team. Now for the women, I like the United States. So just know, I represent the Stars and Stripes, man. I am a proud American. That's right. My people's fought for this country. Straight up. Some people I know they had got drafted. They ain't had no choice but to fight. They ain't had no choice. They ain't want to, but they ain't had no choice. Either that or go to jail. You said grabbing the rest of the GoFundMe. No, it's not GoFundMe. They ain't set up the GoFundMe yet, Barbara. That's the Go Give Send Go. But they could start a GoFundMe. I know they playing today, so I'm bumping my gums for a little bit. And I'm gonna go watch the Morocco and Brazil play. Then I'm gonna come back here and bump my gums again. So that's why I started early today. The only problem is I can't go because my ankle messed up. So I'm hemmed up right now. Almost broke my neck going to the bathroom. It wasn't no lights. I almost fell out and broke my neck, twisted my ankle. See, that's what happened when you get older. You can't be doing all this stuff when you get older. You said your team playing Monday. I remember you said that. I remember you said Spain. You said you're 100% American, but of West African descent and a lot of European mixture. Nice. You wouldn't have it anyway. That's right. You're proud to be what you want, but who you are, you proud. Shout out to you. But guys, listen, we need differences of opinion in here. That's why I read every comment. I know some people like, oh, you don't read every comment because you're sitting up here. But I like the differences of opinion so we can keep the conversation going. Because I'm going to tell y'all something real quick. As long as y'all keep the conversation going, there's going to be attention on this case. If you get, especially for the guys that truly believe that he's innocent. It's going to be a long way before he even attempt to go to the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, they only hear a few cases a year. They don't hear a lot. But, you know, you always got to have I've had people that was in the system, unfortunately. I had a cousin. He was in the system, unfortunately, in and out. He went in the federal system, went in the state. He said that you always have to believe that you have action in the appeals. But he said one thing about Melo is he has an out date. He's going to see the light of day again, even though it's going to take a while, take a long time. But the fact of the matter is he's not a lifer. Okay. So he can dream about being free again on the outside because it's going to happen at some point. But until then, he always have to believe that he have action in the appeals. He has to stay in the law library. He has to educate himself. So is he going to do that, or is he going to get on some politics? Or he going to get with the wrong people in jail? We'll see. Uh-oh, we got another case, guys. We got another case. NBA star James Harden arrested in Texas. He just got arrested. NBA star James Harden arrested in Texas. Let me see what James did, guys. What did James do? We'll get back to Melo. Let's see what James did. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. All right. He's arrested and charged with unlawful carrying of weapons. And it was allegedly in plain sight. And not being carried with a holster. All right. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with James Harden. It's a good old boy system. They're going to let him go. James will be all right. It's a good because he James Harden. He gonna have to pay some fines and do community service. They gonna give him a slap on the wrist. He was carrying his guns illegally, but they probably was registered to him though. So what's gonna happen is he probably gonna have to pay fines and stuff like that. That's not going to be that big of a deal. If they had to arrest him, though, that's a good enough reason to arrest him because he was carrying illegally. But he'll be all right. Hey, how you doing? I don't think James Harden got any NBA rings. I don't think so. You said no walls to corner him and open tent to flee. Yeah, but wasn't that tent on the bleachers though? I'd have been on trip down the damn bleachers. The Twins would have, they'd have had to call a damn ambulance for my ass because I would have fell down the damn bleachers. I would have damn near fell out. They all would have been laughing at me. But you know, the Twins, they had a little flavor to them. You know what I mean? So he was not backing down from the funk. He wasn't. He could have walked away too. The other twin, he could have walked away, but they not doing that. Ain't nobody go get no adult. Nobody. But it's two hotheads. That's how teenagers are, man. Yeah, James Harden will be all right though. He's good. James will be good, man. It's a good old boy system out there. You know, they still had to arrest him because of the weapons, but he'll be all right. You said they didn't even go to the same school. Yeah, they had a pissing contest, calling each other MFers and all that. They were sharing all type of pleasantries with each other. I know they were. Because they said he sat down. I don't know if it's true. Said y'all garbage or whatever. You know, pissing contests, what teenagers do, especially boys. It might have had some girls around. She said the twins were a menace. You said no, they were mad because he said the team was ass. Right. You know, they got mad, shared some pleasantries. They told him to get that, you know, get the F out of here. And he said, you make me move. I'm not moving. Okay. That's what happened, man. It's unfortunate. But you can't sit up there and do what you do what he did. You can't do that. Equal force is getting in a fist fight. Yeah, he gonna pay some money. James, you talking about James Harden? Yeah. You said he stood on business. Ain't that much standing on business in the world, Kerry. It ain't that much standing on business in the world. You got to sit up there and do 35 years. No, sir. No, ma'am. You know, somebody has said to me, they like, bro, you the epitome of a square. Like you ain't never been to jail. You ain't never did nothing. You damn right. I'm not trying to go up in there. You said Karmelo should be life in prison. That's what some people say. But the jury sentenced him. They said 35. But let me just say this, guy. Did you know this? I was listening to a vlogger. He spent 20, 30 years in Texas prison. You know what he said? Karmelo not getting out in 17 years. They're not going to let him out. They'll find a way to keep him in there when he meet the parole the first time. They said he not coming out. They say he might get out in 20 to 25 years. Somewhere around that time. So he's looking at 20 to 25, even though he's eligible around 17 and a half. It's Texas, man. You never know what's going on in somebody's head. He ain't want to get down, Tariq. He didn't want to put his hands up and get down. Because I bet you if they got down, you know, he might have lost or whatever because the twin is kind of, you know, he'll linebacker, but shit, he wouldn't be facing no jail time. He would have had a hurt pride. His pride would have been hurt. Sup, Joe? Yeah, he doing about 20 to 25 years. Because Texas is like that. I know they say, well, he got 17 and a half. Nah. He don't have 17 and a half. He going to do about 20 to 25. Possibly more. Because if he get to jail and get on some politics and get with the wrong people, he can get more time. So, yeah, don't mess with Texas. I be trying to tell people don't mess with Texas. You do the right thing. So, listen, let me just say this. So, let's say if the twin put his hand on him first, right? He has a right for self-defense, but not lethal defense. He has a right to push his hand off of him, push him back. That type of defense, not lethal defense. Okay? So that's it. This is really, and you know what I had said before the jury got it? I said it's only going to take the jury 2 hours. I said that. Remember I said that? I said it's only going to take the jury 2 hours to deliberate. This is easy. Easy case. And it only took them like 2 hours. Now, they did put manslaughter on the table just in case if they can't come up with murder one. But murder one stuck with the jury. So You said that sense was diabolical. No, what's diabolical is, you know how, you know what type of rage you got to have to sit there and poke somebody in the chest? That's very personable. That's very intimate. You know what type of frame of mind you got to be in? You got to be insane. That's not normal. I carried knives and stuff. I never did that. You said we all know if it was the other way around. Okay. That's not true. I point you out to you ever heard of this rapper called The Baby? Anybody? Because you know The Baby shot somebody and he's not in jail because it was self-defense. Anybody know the rapper The Baby? Somebody broke on his property and he shot at him. I think he did shoot the person. He damn sure shot at him. He didn't go to jail. And this happened twice. He shot at somebody twice and still didn't go to jail. So if self-defense is called for, they're not gonna do anything to you. Well, okay, you don't listen to rap, but this rapper called The Baby out of North Carolina. Somebody broke into his property and he shot at him. He didn't even get arrested. You said was The Baby in a blue state? North Carolina at that time, it was a swing state. Now it's blue. Now it's a blue state. North Carolina is blue. Honestly, I still think North Carolina could be a swing state. Still do. It's not normal to sit there and poke somebody in the chest. That's not normal. He had to have been in some type of rage. You said blue states are weak on crime. Not really. Not New Jersey. Not New Jersey. We don't have the death penalty here. Obviously we don't have that, but you said it's not. I knew somebody was getting ready to bring that case up. So you said it's not normal to shoot a kid in the back who's running away. You talking about from the store, that incident, the 14-year-old? We all can agree with that. Nobody's going to disagree with you in here. He shouldn't have got shot. Not yet, Shannon, because I'm trying to purchase them so I can read them. You said the medical examiner determined that Melo should have. Yeah, New Jersey did away with the death penalty a long time ago. You said child should be in jail. Yeah, well, the jury. You said, sorry, you use all caps. You have bad eyes. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. But I mean, I just, I don't go along with it. I don't agree with the stabbing somebody. I just don't. He didn't even go for the legs or nothing. He went straight for the chest. He ain't even try to cut him or something. Something less lethal, He had something wrong with in his head. It was something going on in that kid's head, man. You said all states have the no, they don't. You said Jersey what? Newark, Avon Ave. You from Avon Ave, Tariq? And I know Cozy. People just be saying stuff. Yeah, he was having a bad day. He definitely was. You said I see him spending 35. Well, if he get in more trouble, Christy, he could do the whole 35. Yeah, I don't know. Let me hear a little more what they're saying, then we'll come back.
Be very difficult to assess. And at this point, this jury didn't believe that this was a self-defense. They didn't believe it was manslaughter. They believed it was murder. If he gets a new trial, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And just one last thing that I was, and apparently this is just how it goes in Texas, just the speed at which we went from verdict that he was guilty of murder to then within the hour, his mom is on the stand pretty much just pleading for mercy with the jury. And then they rest 3 hours after that. They had between, I believe it was 5 and 99 years, and you have these same jurors who, a week earlier didn't even know that they were going to be on the jury for this trial. And then suddenly they're determining how many years he's going to spend in prison. And, again, if that's just how things go in Texas, I was just surprised at the speed at which it went from, the end of the trial itself to then going through the punishment phase as quickly as it did.
No, you're 100% right. We usually don't always see that, right? Like sometimes there could be weeks, it could be a month down the road that you have sentencing because sometimes there's a pre-sentencing investigation. But look, Texas does it a little bit differently. I think I wonder if that'll be an issue for an appeal. You're talking about raw emotion at that moment. The defense would maybe make the argument that this wasn't justified. It wasn't fair. Although correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, didn't both sides waive opening statements in that? I think they did, right?
Yeah, I believe they did. Yeah.
That could be tricky. And maybe, Carmelo Anthony's family would say, look, another example of why defense counsel had a problem here. But yeah, and look, that's a tough decision because some people were wondering, like some people who were fully in the camp that, Carmelo Anthony should be found guilty. This is there's no excuse. They thought he should get 99 years. They thought he should spend the rest of his life in prison. And there are others who say, 35 years. Now, when's he going to get out? I was listening to Dan Cogdell, who's a Texas lawyer. He's all on social media. Interesting guy. I think we've had him on once before. He doesn't think that Carmelo Anthony is going to get out in 17 and a half years. Like you have to serve half your sentence. He usually thinks it's probably going to be a little bit more, like probably 20, 22 years. But just think about that. That's a long time in prison.
See, guys, that's what I was saying. I was listening to this inmate that did a lot of time in Texas. He said Carmelo is going to get, he said what'll happen is even if he keep his nose clean and as long as he keep himself out of trouble, he said he's going to do about 20, 25 years. They'll let him out in about 25. He'll be out in about 25. He said if he get in trouble, he'll be out in 35. He'll do all his time. But he said he's looking at 25. They'll let him out. So the people in the jail, they're going to tell him, you're not getting out in 17. Okay? So don't even think about it. You're going to get out. Let me just put this in perspective for you. Let me see. He's going to be in there for 5 more World Cups. I'm just putting that in perspective for y'all. The World Cup come around every 4 years, right? He's going to be in there for the next 5 World Cups. Okay? He's going to be in there for the next 5 World Cups, man. That's what he's looking at. If he don't win this appeal, He still have action in the appeal, but he looking at 5 World Cups. By the time he gets out, I told my friend, because she's getting ready to have a baby, her daughter will be 20 years old by the time he get out. She'll be 25 probably, married and shit. And she's not even birthed yet. No, I'm talking about Patrice if he don't win the appeal and nothing happens. He's looking at 20, 25 years. All right. Yeah, one bad decision changed his life forever. So that's what he's looking at.
Prison, yes, he'll get out, potentially in his 40s. He has a life to live, but just think about how much time that is for a young man who, made a decision that ruined his life.
It is. And I mean, it's sometimes I think with sentencing too, like when we cover it, you can jump from like, 20 to 35 years, and it's like, you're talking about that is so much time. And, he's 19 years old today, and he's going to serve pretty much what has been his entire life on the outside, at least to that. We get lost sometimes, I think.
But just to be clear, I mean, this was a crime. This was
a murder.
This was
100%
murder. I mean,
yeah.
The Metcalfs lost. I forget. I think it was the prosecutor said, Austin's never going to get married. He's never going to have a job. He's never going to have children. Like, the family lost this. He was in the prime of his life, and this was a senseless situation. It should have never happened. They not only have to navigate the grief, they have to navigate the legal situation, and they have to navigate a lot of this conversation. I mean, this is a case that has really brought up a lot of different points. There's been a lot of strong feelings about it one way or another, and now they have to navigate that as well. So it's a difficult situation for both families, but I just also wanted to call out what's going on for the Metcalf family too.
100%, because I mean, they will always.
All right, let me say this for people thinking about them raising more money. Let me ask you a question. What do you think the answer to this is? Let's say if they raise $5 million, they got $5 million at their disposal, and the Metcalf family sue them in civil court and win. That money's gone now, right? Because in Texas, if your son is under a certain age and he get convicted of murder, the family can sue the parents. So the parents is about to get sued probably. So could that be a reason why they say they don't have no more money? Are they hiding the money? I don't know. Because them civil lawsuits is coming. I just thought about that. So they talking about raising $5 million. If I was the Metcalfs, go ahead and raise that money, because we're going to take it. We're going to take it. We're going to take it. Because so they might be hiding it. I'm just thinking about that. These are just my thoughts. I'm not saying it's true. But think about this. They're on the hook now, because if the Metcalfs sue them, they probably going to be found guilty in civil court, and they're going to have to pay. Well, they are. I think that's next. I think they are going to sue. I think that's next for sure, because they're liable now because their son was under a certain age. Hey man, I'm all about fairness. What's fair, what's right is right. I don't agree with the 14-year-old getting shot in his back, just like I don't agree with this guy getting stabbed over a confrontation. Same thing. I don't agree with none of it. So it's crazy. But they saying, I don't know. He wants a public defender for the appeals, and it's only a 2% chance that he will have action in the appeals. Texas is very hard. And got a public defender at that? Yeah, man, it's an uphill battle for him. You said GTA 6 will come out before he gets out? That's hilarious. No, you mean GTA 10. Wait, GTA 6, 7, 8, 9. No, GTA 9 will be out by then. GTA 9 or 10. That's how long he got. Yeah, it was heck of a case, Abraham, for, people talking about it. But, I know he's thinking now, I should not have done this. What was I thinking? You said Tekken 13 and 3, right, and Street Fighter 20. By the time he get out, nobody will be driving cars no more. All the cars will be driving itself. By the time he get out. By the time he get out, the aliens will be walking the street. By the time he get out. You said that bro was dirty macking. All right, have a good one now. He's not going to be able to have a girlfriend for 20 years. He might as well give himself to God now. He might as well get on some religion. That's what I would do. By the time I get out, I will look like an imam. You heard me, Abraham? I'll look like an imam by the time I get out. He also had a shooting on his property as well. He had 2 shootings. You talking about the baby? He had 2 shootings, and he didn't get arrested. You said his girlfriend said she gonna ride with him. That's a real one. Is she gonna? Because she 19 now, is she gonna ride with him until she 40? That's a real one. That's love right there. I think y'all just saying that to stir up something. No, don't say that. I don't wish that for him, Abraham. You mean for him to go in there and be a punk? I don't wish that. If that's what he want to do, then yeah. But yeah, she's not gonna stay with him for the whole 20 years. That's not happening. Like I said, he might as well get on some religion. Yeah, that's his girlfriend now, Abraham. That's what it's going. But he gonna have a cellmate. It's hard to do that. You said the coach testified. Yeah, that's hard right there. The coach testified and said he one was the aggressor. Man, that's the jury. Listen, the jury convicted him on murder 1, so they felt like the state met their burden. So the only thing, the only thing I wish that we could have saw it live. I just like watching trials. I wish I could have I wish I had a chance, got a chance to see this trial. But yeah, and it was a black coach. I know. Since people want to make it about race, it was a black coach, and then some of the friends were black. So now I know people talking about the dad. The dad is what you call having a nervous breakdown. I don't think the coach was around at the time to intervene. But the fact of the matter, his dad, I know people talking about his dad, Max's dad. I know he shouldn't have said it, but he's mad. He was hoping that Melo get life. That's what he was hoping for. He don't like the fact that he'll be out in 20 to 25 years when he's never going to get his boy back. You said he wasn't, he don't want to lose his job. So you saying he got to lie? I don't think so. You just can't, guys, you just can't stab nobody in a fist fight. I'm sorry. You just got to take, when we grew up, we fought and we took our L's and our lumps. And then we go back to being friends and riding our bikes. That's how we grew. That's how I grew up. But, we'll see. I mean, he has the right to appeal. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, we'll go from there. I will be back a little later, guys. Get ready, watch this World Cup. And I'll be back a little later. I keep wanting to talk about that other case, but I found out they went to the spot where they thought Nancy Guthrie was buried at in Mexico and didn't find anything. So they didn't find the grave. So I'll come back with that later. You said it was hold on, let me see your comment. You said it was a fist fight. I would agree. We never went to a place where we supposedly had bullies with the knife and refused to leave after 15 requests. Yeah, they said it was about 15 requests. Hey, at the end of the day, you know what my mother said? If you make your bed, you got to lay in it. You made your bed and you have to lay in it. That's it. So he chose to do the crime. You got to do the time. He lucky he didn't get life. He should have had his peers on the jury. Well, it don't really work like that. Yeah, that's old school way of thinking. You made your bed, you got to lay in it. You got to lay in it. So it's unfortunate, but both parents lost something here. So lives are forever changed. So just because somebody wanted to not fight, that's what it boils down to, man. But this senseless murders happens every day, to be honest, which it does. I'm tired of it. Every day. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy your guys' day. And I will see you soon. All right, guys.